What's going on, everybody? Steve here, Rake and Profit over at rakeandprofit.com, coming back to you with another video, and I am with my friend Justin. What's going on, brother?
Doing well, man. How are you?
Awesome, awesome. And Justin is an ex-eBay employee, and we're going to be sharing some insights from behind the scenes from someone who's worked at eBay, and you actually currently sell on eBay right now. So we're going to talk about some topics that I'm sure a lot of you guys are curious about. Before we get started, what was it like working for eBay, man?
Oh man, it was a great company. I mean, they really take care of the employees. They really care about everybody. Probably one of the best places that I worked. If I wasn't so set on being a reseller and not working 9 to 5, I probably would have stayed there very long, because it's just a great environment. They really care for you and they really want you to succeed, and they do everything they can to help you. So I would say totally positive things, not one bad thing to say about anything that I had while I was working there.
And how long were you working for eBay?
I was there for about 7 months.
7 months, awesome. And what specifically were you doing at eBay? Because there's all different, how do you say, job titles at eBay, right? There's different, how do you call it?
Well, there's just different roles in different departments. So each department deals with a specific section of an issue, right? So I was in charge of account security. I was in charge of, suspensions, any warnings, anything that people breaking rules. I was also in charge of selling limits. But being there, I really enjoyed, the seller part of it as well as the working there part of it. So I like to learn, the buy-sell department that they have, which helps you optimize your listings, or if you're having trouble with buying something, it helps that as well. And also we have the M2M, which is the member-to-member, which are people that, deal with that touchy subject about cases. Who's going to get the money? Who's not going to get the money? Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? Who's going to get the feedback taken off? Who's not going to get the feedback taken off? So I learned all of those things. However, my primary one was account suspensions and selling limits.
Where do we start? I have so many things that I want to touch on right now, because I know a lot of people, they sell on eBay and they get in trouble, right? I guess the number one thing is, if somebody's suspended right now, if somebody is in trouble and they're suspended, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of different reasons why they get suspended. Any advice for someone who is suspended, or maybe advice for how to not get suspended on eBay or get your account restricted or in trouble?
Yeah, so the number one thing I would say is eBay, when they throw out a warning or a restriction or anything like that, before that action goes into place, the system gets a flag, but it's looked at by a person before that actually gets dropped. So what we're always looking at is the intent. So if we can see the intent is not there to really commit anything, it will shoot out a warning. It's an automatic, generated thing, but it's not something where somebody's going to go ahead and throw that suspension on. If you do get the suspension, that means that we reviewed it and there was enough, smoke to say, hey, maybe there's fire. So that would be something that I would say to watch out for is look at the intent, because that's what eBay is looking at. We don't want to restrict anybody. The goal is not to suspend anybody and halt any of their sales, but we do got to keep the site safe and make sure that the community is safe. That's the most important thing, especially buyers, especially sellers. Same thing, both people. We want to make sure it's a safe environment for everybody. So I would just say, if you get that email from eBay, it'll tell you exactly what the issue is. If you do have any questions, always feel free to call customer support. But 9 times out of 10, it'll tell you, line by line exactly what the issue was, what you need to fix, what can be changed, and what we can do to get past this as soon as possible.
What do you think the most common mistake that new eBay sellers make that get them in trouble, that get them on the line with you and they're calling and trying to get their account back up and running? Is there anything that it was just a really reoccurring theme, a common call, it was a mistake that people made? Is there anything that stands out to you?
Well, there was a few. One of the main ones was multi-listing. Whenever you have something that has the same picture, same keywords, and you're just changing 1 or 2 words, if they're too similar and it could have been put all in one listing, and have variations to it, eBay will pick that up. What they're really trying to do is make sure your listings are optimized for the buyers. They're not just getting spammed with all these listings that look exactly the same but are missing 1 short keyword. That provides bad buying experiences, because we all know that sometimes the buyers don't read the descriptions, they don't read the title, and that causes confusion. So eBay will go ahead and pop the listing off. Most times it's a warning right off the bat, because they'll say like, hey, this could have been arranged into one listing, but for future reference, if it's going to be, something similar where it's just barely off by a word or so, just make it one listing, and try to use regular photos. Don't use stock photos if you can.
Yeah, so we're actually in Austin, Texas right now, and Justin and I, we were over in the trails with everybody here for the Green Room event, and we were talking. You were telling me about that one time a woman had called, and she said, nothing's sold in a week. Are you guys suppressing my listings? There's a lot of times people in the eBay community, us resellers, we think that eBay is like hiding our listings, or they're doing something with their algorithm to suppress our listings. Is that true? Because there's a lot of drop shippers, there's a lot of people selling physical products. Does eBay ever suppress listings? Are there times when eBay will, I guess, penalize sellers for maybe their metrics or anything? So does slow sales exist because of eBay hurting us, or is that kind of a myth, would you say?
Well, I would say it's a double-edged sword, right? The way we expect eBay to have our money ready for us, have our backs in a case or a negative feedback removal, they want us to meet them halfway and say, well, we're going to do all this for you and protect you, but we also need you to follow these certain guidelines.
Yep.
And something that comes into play when it happens in terms of like you were saying, the mom calling me, right? So she called, and what was happening is she was drop shipping from Walmart. And it's a tough conversation when it's somebody's family on the line, that's their main source of income, or maybe it's a side income, but it helps for just anything that they might need, and they don't want to have to work another job. eBay, what they do want is for authorized resellers. They want invoices from the companies. They want people going out and actually buying the items themselves, taking their own photos, because it's a grind, it's a hustle, and we all like to work, we all like to hustle. I think we don't like having jobs, but I think we like to work, for ourselves and build something, So what eBay will do is they will suppress listings that are being drop shipped. They can tell, right off the bat, it's clear as crystal. It's not your photos, it's stock photos. And so eBay wants to provide the best buying experience, because what'll happen is when you drop ship items, sometimes the tracking doesn't upload right away, and it's really never in your hand. So if there's a bad buying experience and eBay turns to you, all you can say is, oh, well, something happened with Walmart.com, or something happened with their trucks, you know what I'm saying? And it kind of pushes the blame off of you onto the other company, and that's what they want to eliminate all the way. It's either you do a great job and you take care of it, or it's best to hold off and learn another way and push forward that way.
What advice would you give to somebody who their metrics are falling down low and they're close to getting kicked off, and maybe they're shipping late, or they're canceling a bunch of orders, they're right on the verge of maybe getting kicked off? Because we were actually having another conversation where you're saying, like, when eBay kind of kicks you off, for the most part, you're gone forever, you were saying. Do you mind touching a little bit on that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very, very touchy subject. Once you go below standard and you get out of just a regular above standard status, eBay really wants you to kind of get the realization and say, hey, look, we're in a position now, and we're going to be here with you as long as you're going to put in that work. But if you're not going to put in that work, after all, what's going to end up happening is your account will get restricted and possibly indefinitely suspended. Now, to prevent that from happening, what eBay says is like, okay, you're getting below standard, you might be hit with some extra fees, you might be hidden lower in the listings because of previous bad experiences with the buyers, but as long as you are continuously staying with it, putting up your sales, putting up items, trying to make the experiences right, eBay will keep the account open. The only time that the account will get shut down is if there's no progress, or you say, oh, I'm going to wait 12 months until they all fall off and I'll jump on later at that point. Well, what eBay sees is, well, the account is stagnant. Clearly they don't care. They're not trying to try. So, why should we risk a bad buying experience on somebody that's not even going to, attempt to make it work? But if you do put that foot forward, eBay will go ahead and step in with you and partner up with you on that.
What advice would you give to somebody who maybe they're doing a big transaction on eBay, and let's just say that I am I'm the buyer, and the seller is saying, hey, let's do a local pickup, but let's do cash behind the scenes. Let's not go through eBay because I want to save on PayPal fees and eBay fees. Would you suggest doing that? Because there's a lot of people, I'm spoon feeding this one to you, but there's a lot of people who try to go behind eBay's back. Is eBay's algorithm sophisticated enough to pick up on keywords through the chat? If you send a picture with the phone number, different things like that. And again, this is kind of obvious what I'm feeding you, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I would just say, that's equivalent to a one-night stand. You're putting yourself in a position where it seems good at the moment, but in the long term, you might be setting yourself up for something terrible. eBay is there, to help you in the long term, and that's how you got to look at it. If you're going to be a reseller, if you're going to sell anything on eBay, you're going to be there for a while. So it's easy to just cooperate with the guidelines, because in the real scheme of things, you wouldn't have even had that buyer, gotten that sale, had eBay not marketed for you and gotten them to, gotten your product seen by them. So when it comes down to sharing information or anything like that, I know it's tempting. I know I've been tempted
Don't
before.
do it.
Yeah, don't risk it. There's no biscuit for you. Just play it straight, be cool. eBay will appreciate that, especially if you do get a warning. That's a big thing. Some people will get warnings if a buyer reaches out to you and says, hey, contact me, okay? eBay will hit you. If you remove that item within 7 days of getting that warning, eBay will take that as, okay, maybe they did call him. Even though you didn't respond in the messages, if they give you that number and that item comes off, it looks like, hey, he pulled that item off because he called that person. So play it safe on those.
If you want to get an answer or you want to get help, maybe you're suspended or you're in trouble, and I know we're spending a lot of time on this because this is like, we get so many questions about this. What department do you want to talk to? Who's the department that really makes the decisions when it comes down to restrictions and suspensions and all of that? Because I know we were talking and you said that there's kind of like, you were working for your department, but then there's like an in-house or there's like a back house, you were saying?
Right, so...
Is there any hacks of like, when someone calls, who they should ask for or anything like that?
Well, the most important thing is to, before you call, figure out what the exact reason is that you're calling besides my account is blocked, something like that. You know, that's a very general spectrum. So what I would say is really get down to the bottom of what's going on. Once you figure that part out, when you do get to that point where it comes to an account restriction, you're going to want to get to the eBay to member department. The eBay to member department is what I was in. It's the toughest one because you're dealing with specifically restrictions and suspensions. So you want to get to them first because they're going to be the ones that are going to be able to tell you why you're suspended, why you're restricted, or how close you are to being suspended, or how close you are to being restricted, and what you should or should not do moving forward to protect yourself from getting to that point. Now, there is a back house team. Now, you can't speak to them. They're the ones that review the accounts. Whenever something happens that looks fishy, like an off eBay sale possibly or something, the flags go to them. They check the system. They read through the messages, they read through everything, and they say, well, hey, clear as crystal, boom, we got to put a 3-day suspension, or we got to send out a warning. You know, they'll do that automatically.
So that kind of keeps checks and balances. You can't, like, if you have like insider information or you're working with someone, like there's checks and balances because there's your department and then there's that back house.
Right. So now what I can do as one of the members there is we were the strongest department there because we had the power to reinstate accounts if we felt that we got the message across and we said, hey, look, here's what happened. This, and this. If we come to an understanding and you say, you know what, I totally understand, I apologize for that, you know, moving forward, I don't want to do that again, I want to stay here on eBay, I want to make money. We say, you know what, as a courtesy, you're being cool, we're cool, we don't want to restrict you, let's go ahead and pop that off for you. Now I'm going to notate the account, let you know that, hey, if this happens again, we did have this conversation and there was an understanding. So we will use that, but at the same time, as long as there's an understanding, we're more than willing to pop that restriction off as soon as possible and get you off the phone and back on there listing your items again.
Any tips for getting negative feedbacks removed? I've had a bit of trouble in the past getting negative feedbacks removed off of my eBay account. Sometimes you have to call multiple times to get a different person. So I guess part one of the question is, can you get negative feedbacks removed? Is it easy? And two, is it a myth that you have to like talk to the right person to kind of get what you want? Or, you know, I don't know if I'm explaining that the right way.
I understand what you're saying. No, there's two departments that deal with that. That would be my department, the E to M department, and also M to M, the department that deals with cases. They also can remove feedback as well. However, in terms of easy, it's dependent on the reason why you're asking to get it removed. Now, obviously, if the buyer leaves a negative feedback, they have a bad buying experience, but you did everything in your power to try to make it right with them, and they just weren't having it, you're more likely to get that, you know, one-time benefit of, you know, hey, as seeing that you went that extra mile to make the experience right after something happened, we'll do that. We'll do that courtesy for you and pop it off sometimes, but it's dependent on the scenario. If we see that, you know, you're just ignoring all their calls, you know, you're ignoring all their emails and not reaching back out to them, or you just don't care, you know, the rules are the rules, you know what I'm saying? That feedback will stay on there. But just to eliminate that from the beginning, always make sure you have the buyers in mind. As long as the buyers see that, you know, I've had it before where I sold a buyer bought something and I didn't have the item. I had lost it in a car accident, you know, so dumb on me to not remove the item. I ended up buying it from another seller and I had to get it shipped to that person. And and I let them know it was going to be a little late, what was going on. Just being upfront and communicating with the buyer, they are willing to be understanding. The only thing that the sellers don't do sometimes is they don't give the buyer the opportunity to understand. They need that opportunity. So put the ball in their court. Do everything you possibly can and say, hey, I gave them 100% and they just wanted to be mean and do it that way. eBay will have your back, you know, but don't be, oh, well, I'm not even going to try because they're not going to remove the feedback. But you'd be surprised. Give them the opportunity. Give them the chance.
How important is it when people call eBay and they talk to the representatives to be cool and chill and transparent instead of being a jerk and mean and upset? Because I've even seen some videos on YouTube with people calling eBay and they're being like smart asses and they're being jerks to them, and then you wonder why. Like, at the end of the day, you're talking to human beings. I know a lot of times we're talking to people who are in like other countries and stuff and we're frustrated and whatnot, but how important is it to talk to people with respect on eBay? Can that kind of help to get what you want?
Well, it definitely, courtesy always makes any process run way smoother. And like you said, the humanitarian way to look at it is 100% the right way. Now, obviously, we have a job, right? We get paid to be there and help you out as best as we can. But if you're there, you know, fighting us every way possible for us to help you, you know, we're still going to get it done because it's our job. But at the same time, we could have you off the phone like that. If it's just like, hey sir, you know, how's your day going? Oh, absolutely, everything's going well. How's your day? It's a conversation.
You got a soothing voice, man. I feel like you did a great job over there, huh?
It was cool. It was really fun. I definitely left on my own terms, so that was the bright side, you know. But I love it.
Any tips for like one of the biggest things that holds people back on eBay? Like when you're brand new and you open an account, you're gonna have different limitations. So you're gonna have limitations. Correct me if I'm wrong. Limitations on how many items you can list, and then a total like amount, like a dollar amount, right? And that might even vary per category. I'm not sure. Is that correct?
Yeah. So there's two ways, right? Your account has an overall limit, right? How much you can list, how many items, and then how much money. But then also eBay, to protect the site, has certain categories limited, especially for new sellers. So for instance, if somebody's doing like you know, a bunch of Louis Vuitton purses and it's a new seller, well, one, you're gonna have selling limits that are overall. Two, you're gonna have a category limit, which would limit you for the amount of purses or Louis Vuitton items in general that you'd be allowed to list. That would be a category limit and also a brand limit. They have brand blocks as well.
Yep.
So what you know, at the forefront, it seems like an inconvenience, but in the long-term scheme of things, it's just for the safety of the site. I mean, how would you feel buying something for $1,500 from somebody that has 0 feedback or 1 feedback?
eBay's trying to protect their brand. Like,
absolutely.
If I'm a seller and I provide really bad experience, a bad experience for you as a buyer, you're not mad at me. You're mad at eBay. You're going to go shop at Amazon. You're going to go to Walmart. So I do definitely understand eBay's trying to protect your brand. Now, Justin, what's the fastest way? Are there any hacks or tips that you have for people to be able to increase those limits faster?
Absolutely. You know, a lot of people, what they think is, well, if I list all my items, I can just call and get more items. But see, that's not where it is. The truth is in the pudding, which is the data, right? That's what we're looking at. How many of the items sold? Did they get there on time? Was there, you know, we're not looking necessarily for positive feedback because a lot of times buyers don't leave feedback.
Yeah.
But if they have it and, you know, no feedback is better than bad feedback. That's what I always say. So what I would say is get your items listed. Obviously, you want to do your due diligence and make sure that you're buying an item that's going to sell quick for your convenience. The faster it sells, the faster you get your money, but also the faster your reputation builds up on eBay. And when you give us a call, you can call once a month to have your account reviewed for a limit increase. And I was handing them out like candy, but obviously there's people that we do review the accounts. We want to look to see that there's enough, you know, okay, you sold 10 items last month, let's bump you up to 50, or let's bump you up to 100, why not? You know, let's see what you got, and then go from there and kind of make it a challenge. But we're not going to go, you know, okay, you sold 20 items, you know, but we're not going to give you 100,000 right off the bat, you know, that just makes no sense.
Yeah, interesting, cool. Anything else, Justin, that you think the viewers might be interested in, coming from, you know, being an ex-employee? I don't know if there's anything else that you feel that maybe that you wanted to talk about, or anything that you think might be able to help people?
Well, I would say be persistent, 100%. When it comes to reselling, if you're a new seller or if you've been selling for a long time and you kind of lose that fire, I got that call a lot of times. People were sellers for years and it gets to a point where they're just like, man, I just don't have it in me. People are undercutting my price, you know, I'm not making the same money I had. And at the same time, you know, I'd be there and see that top rated badge that they had on their profile and let them know, hey man, you have that badge for a reason. eBay doesn't just hand those out to anybody. You got to this point because you were a hard worker. If it was easy, everybody would have a badge. If it was easy, everybody would be a reseller, but it's not, and you've already figured that out. So let's not forget that. Now, as far as the new sellers go, it's all about persistence, right? You have to put yourself in that position enough times to where the opportunity is just gonna keep hitting you, right? So it's a numbers game. So if you call 500 cold calls, you're gonna get some yeses in there. But if you only make 10 cold calls, you're most likely going to get none, and then you're probably going to be upset and be down on your self-esteem because you didn't get the numbers you want.
Keep listing.
Keep going.
Keep listing. Keep studying the sold listings. eBay provides you with the information of what's selling and how frequently. So if you're interested in clothing, study the clothing sold listings. We've talked about this hundreds of times on the channel, and at the end of the day, I think what you're trying to say, man, is, you know, provide good service, right? Be a good seller. Take care of the customer, because at the end of the day, we like to think that we are running our own business, which we are, but we are selling on eBay, and eBay is a brand, and they're a multi-million dollar, billion dollar, I don't know, business. And at the end of the day, if you treat them well, they're going to treat you well. But if you screw over the customers, then they're going to be forced to kick you off. So
yeah, the one odd pearl I would say is, imagine you're buying from yourself. When you're selling, what would you want to see as the buyer in order to make you feel comfortable spending your hard-earned money online from somebody you don't know? So put yourself in that position and say, okay, if I was going to buy this, I have 1 or 2 feedback. what would I want to see to make myself comfortable and trusting this person selling the site? Well, what's it going to be? Great description, great keywords, great pictures, you know, putting in the description, hey, if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm here to answer any questions possible. Well, I mean, you're laying it out there right there on a golden platter. You know, it'd be somebody's, at least if they're on the fence, if they see something like that, as opposed to somebody that just says, oh, free USPS shipping, shipped in 1 to 2 days, smoke-free home. They're probably going to go with you 9 times out of 10 because they want the trust, they want the security, they want to make sure that, you know, especially if they're going to refer their friends, they want somebody that they can talk to and say, I'm not just talking to a computer or talking to an automated message, I'm talking to a person, and this person is dead set on making sure that I'm happy. And that's all that matters. You stick with that, you have good intentions, I guarantee you, it's going to be a great time for you. You're going to make a lot of money, you're going to make a lot of people happy, and you're going to see the rewards.
Nice, awesome. Well, hey, appreciate you being on,
Thanks for
Justin,
having me.
and I feel like I have so many more questions that I can't think of off the top because I'm just so excited for this video. But if you guys have any more questions, leave a comment down below in the description in the comment area, and maybe you could go in and even check out some comments, or maybe we could even do a future video on Google Hangouts and answer questions if you're down for it.
Always.
This guy's a freaking amazing public speaker. You don't even have a YouTube channel. I'm like, you need to start one.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing. This whole hangout has totally inspired me to talk to people on YouTube. But you make it really easy because you have great questions and you're talking, you're bouncing them off me. So maybe I'll look into it and check it out. I like to help people, so it'd be something cool.
And I'll tell you right now, at this Green Room event, we had a kickball game. You do not want to be on the opposing team of this guy because he is incredible. How many times did you catch my kick? 17 times. Well, my team's kick. Holy crap, MVP right here. But either way, guys, appreciate you. Like, comment, subscribe, and have yourselves a great night.
Goodbye, everybody.
Peace.